Being compliant is just straightforward. Being maliciously compliant? Well, that's another story. Welcome to this episode of Malicious Compliance. Our first one is from Duby Lendar. This happens in a large store in a European country. When you purchase something from them, and for any reason want to return the item, their policy is that they never give money back. They only give you a voucher, redeemable same day only. I went to the store today and purchased quite a long list of items. I got home, my wife looks at them and says that we don't need some of them. I go back to the store, barely 20 minutes pass. The returns manager smiles at me as I tell her I'd just purchased these items and would like to return them. She tells me that I stepped out of the store so she can't refund, only give me a voucher, and I must buy something else. I'd already bought everything I needed. Then she tells me to take the products home and keep them for the next time I would need to buy something. Then I can come and get a voucher and redeem it. Imagine keeping a pair of shoes and a bowl, and remember to bring them with you the next time you happen to need something. I tried to reason, but she was adamant. "Those are the rules. You stepped out of the store, you don't get a refund." And then it clicked. I asked, so if someone wants to return an item without leaving the store, they get the money back? Yes. You see where this is heading. Malicious compliance kicking in. I ask to return the items and get a voucher. I take the voucher, get inside the store, find a product the exactly same amount, buy it with the voucher. Right after the cashier, there's the returns manager. Straight from the cashier, I go to her, hand her the random product I just bought and say, "I would like to return this, I don't want it," and I never left the store. She is looking at me with barely contained rage in her eyes. I kid you not. The awkward pause was getting longer, and then her manager comes along, looks at us, and I smile at him and say, "I never left the store and I would like to get a refund for this, please." He nods. Silent and not looking at me, she proceeds to refund me the money in cash. Company policy, right? Hey, you simply just did what they told you had to do, and the fact that you found that loophole being able to actually get a cash refund, kudos to you. This next one is by Rahori. Thursday morning last week, I got an appointment randomly scheduled with the CEO. Come to find out, they were laying me off and would send further details via email. In the email, it just said sometime during this week, send your laptop, monitor, and computer accessories to XYZ address, and to use their billing account. I complied. I went to my local FedEx with just the items unpacked. I asked the worker if they would package it all for me using their highest quality wrap, and make sure it's incredibly secure. They just smiled and said they understand exactly what to do, since I told them I got laid off by this company, and I don't care how much they billed them. They began using foot after foot of bubble wrap, and yards of tape. Come to the end of the packaging process, they show me the bill and it's $68. Not a ton, but it was worth the laughs. If they want to cover the dime to have that stuff sent back and they don't specify how they want to receive it, I don't see anything here besides compliance. This next one is from Brinky Stitches. This happened nearly 20 years ago during my first year of college. I was assigned a group presentation and placed with 3 random people in my class. The first meeting went well. When we all got up to leave, one of my male group members, who I will call Tool, squeezed my arm. Hard. I looked at him like he had crusty boogers all over his face, yanked my arm away and asked, "Do you need something?" He scowled at me. "I'm running for class president and won't have time to do the presentation. You're gonna do my part." I laughed. I most certainly am not. Tool put his face close to mine and whispered somewhat menacingly, "You're a woman and will do as I say." I laughed again and said, "I don't even know you, dude. You don't get to tell me what to do." Tool whispered even more menacingly, "You are going to do my part of the presentation, and that's that." He then walked away quickly. I had no idea what to do. Do I tell the professor? Do I tell the campus police about him squeezing the shit out of my arm? Do I tell the other group members? Obviously, I wasn't going to do this guy's presentation. I wanted to get back at him. However, because he put his hands on me, and I was petty. Then it came to me. Time for malicious compliance. The day of our presentation, and just before it was our turn to present, I handed Tool his project, a single piece of paper, with only the words, Tool's presentation, typed on it. I grinned and asked, "Isn't it great?" Tool looked like he wanted to vomit. I then leaned in and whispered, "You are going to get a terrible grade, and that's that." He stuttered some nonsense during his portion of the presentation, and while I do not know for certain what grade he received, it couldn't have been good. I got an A+. He never came to class again, and I never saw him on campus again. I don't know if he dropped out or what happened, but I do know he wasn't elected president. Edit. My degree is in creative writing, so I do indeed write with gusto, whether telling a true story or a fictional one. If you choose not to believe me, that's totally cool. What happened doesn't change because internet strangers question my integrity. To the person who said I should be grateful for the guy only grabbing my arm, you need help. I think the name Tool is fitting for what this guy is, an absolute tool, assuming that just because the OP is a woman, she should do his work for him. I'm glad in the end this Tool got what was coming to him. This next one is by Corby157. I used to work for a temp agency. We specialized in labor and construction work, but really, if I had notice, could recruit for any type of work. We had customers that often needed workers with different skills and tickets, and some customers were just downright misogynistic. One customer called later in the morning and said he needed 2 workers and would only accept men. I explained that due to the timing, I didn't have many workers available at short notice, but I have 2 women that are available and are very seasoned and strong, with a great work ethic. He declined. So I sent him the other 2 men I had in the office who were 2 of the laziest workers I had, hence why they were not already dispatched. The customer called me at the end of the day and said he needed 2 workers again tomorrow, but not those 2 as they were horrible. I again offered the ladies and said how they had been praised for their past work. He begrudgingly agreed. The next day he called and said how they were some of the best workers he had ever had. They ended up working for him for another 3 months, and he eventually hired them. This just goes to show you shouldn't judge a book by its cover. The fact that they initially wanted men and were shown that the men they got were shit, well, at least they ended up changing their tune. Our next one is from Rigby Lou. I constantly feel like Senior Chang with "I'll allow it," because my kid is the king of finding a loophole, and technically following the direction. While it is often a challenge for me, a lifelong anxious people pleaser, I am in awe of his logic and reasoning skills, and am always impressed. He inspires me. I read all the parenting books and took all the classes before my son was placed with me through foster care. The gentle parenting book said, "Don't tell your toddler no, rather tell them what you would like them to do. Instead of 'don't touch that,' say 'hands off please.'" So, at Christmas, we had the Christmas tree out, and 2-year-old son tries batting at the ornaments. He wants to grab and throw them. I do what the book said and say, "Hands off the tree, please." He takes just a moment to think before he karate kicks an ornament. His chubby little hands never touched it. When we were potty training, he had a special bear chair that I could easily clean if he had an accident while sitting on it. I told him he could sit in the bear chair while we watched a show, and I'd sit next to him on the floor. He wanted to sit on the couch. I reminded him that he could sit on the bear chair, just in case he had an accident. "Couch!" he insisted. "Bottom on the bear chair, please," I reminded. He grabbed the bear chair, dragged it onto the couch, and plopped down on it. He is now 6 and does occupational therapy through school. He was asked by his occupational therapist to draw a specific thing. He purposely drew it dramatically big and sloppy, going off the page, scribbled, and made his drawing unrecognizable. He was asked to redo it, this time smaller and more in control. So he turned the paper over and made his drawing so small that it could hardly be seen. Joke's on him though, he was really working those fine motor skills. These are off the top of my head. He's really good at getting creative and interpreting rules. One could argue he's definitely following the rules and instructions he's given, just in his own loophole little way. I kinda like that though, I'm not gonna lie. And our final one is by Millie Hughes. I suddenly realized I actually have a story I can post here. Many moons ago I worked for someone selling books online. He bought high-end computers, but was notoriously cheap in other areas. For instance, all the fire extinguishers were out of date, and we had 2 portable heaters for the whole building. No central heating. One day he stopped replacing the light bulbs. This included the book room, which has one small blacked-out window. One by one, the lights went until I couldn't see anymore. His solution was to buy me a wind-up torch. Well, this torch was loud and annoying when wound up. Every time he came into work and I needed to go into that room, I would spend a few minutes winding up that torch. He tried to ask me to stop, but I'd point out that all he had to do was buy some light bulbs. Eventually he gave in, but not before I annoyed the hell out of him every time he set foot in the office. Because I'd always find myself a task that meant I needed to go in there. One could argue how the boss doesn't even see this coming, but at the end of the day, you see that this is a boss clearly with no foresight. I think most people would have done the same if in this situation as well. Alright, that's enough maliciousness for the day. Well, that wraps up this episode of Malicious Compliance. If you liked the video, please drop a like, share my content on all of your social media, subscribe if you haven't already, and make sure to hit that bell so you're notified every time I upload, and drop a comment down below. It really helps with the algorithm and helps new people find my channel. Thanks for watching, thanks to my patrons, have a great day and stay safe out there.